So what is the deal with Apatobrontosaurus? Is it Apatosaurus? Is it Brontosaurus? Is it both? Is it some secret other option? You will be pleased to know that as of 2015, both Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus are considered valid and separate genus names. The question you should really be asking to unlock the most interesting answer is who was doing such sloppy paleontology in the first place that it took until 2015 to figure it out, and why? And the answer is Cope and Marsh. In the late 19th century, there were these two Americans who were so obsessed with each other they had no choice but to discover more than 300 dinosaurs about it. The person directly responsible for the whole Apatobrontosaurus thing was this guy, Othniel Charles Marsh, and the reason was this guy, Edward Drinker Cope, a name which gets progressively funnier with each subsequent name in it. Their lives revolved around an obsessive quest for each to prove himself the better paleontologist. There was slander, theft, bribery, sabotage by dynamite, like they would pay people to explode their dig sites after they were done with them so that their rival couldn't find any specimens there. They were also at one point banned from commenting on each other in papers submitted to the journal American Naturalist because they had started submitting papers that were just elaborate academic subtweets. It was called the Bone Wars, and a lot of really sloppy paleontology came out of it because they were racing to print and not looking at their specimens especially carefully because they were too busy trying to out-paleontology each other. And it was Marsh who, at one point, found a partial specimen and said, Apatosaurus, and then he found a different partial specimen from a different animal and he said Brontosaurus. And you can totally erect a valid genus based on a partial specimen. You can even do it based on a single bone, but you do have to be paying more attention to your specimen than you are to Edward Cope. Then in 1903, a different paleontologist called Elmer Riggs looked at the specimens and said, you know, I think these are the same genus, and you can't have two names for the same genus. That defeats the purpose of having a genus name, so it defaults to the older name, which in this case was Apatosaurus. But Brontosaurus, which means thunder lizard, was such an iconic name for a giant sauropod dinosaur that people kept using that name in popular culture for decades after Brontosaurus was obviated as a real scientific name. And that was the state of things for decades until, in 2015, this paper came out and took a really thorough look at all of the specimens that had ever been assigned to either genus and found that, plot twist, Brontosaurus and Apatosaurus were separate genera all along. Also, do you guys want a part 2? Because now I kind of want to talk about why Marsh and Cope hated each other so much in the first place.